Hi everyone, we're very happy to have here with us my very good friend from United States of America with 19 years of experience as a licensed marriage and family therapist and currently connected with Mental Health America of Los Angeles. Let us all please welcome Miss Joanna Domingo. And of course, the better half, my very good friend as well, Mr. Adele Domingo. Hi!
Hi guys.
Hello.
Okay, so thank you so much for sparing me your very, very precious time. You know what? This interview would really help a lot of people. Okay,
Yes,
how are you doing this past few days, especially with COVID-19 pandemic?
I'm doing well. Actually, since it started in March, we've been working from home. So we've been, and it's been very busy. I actually noticed that it's been busier now that we're working from home. I have a lot of Zoom meetings, um, conference calls, and I also stay in touch with our clients through phone calls. Once in a while, I go out and also meet with them too.
All right, but how was the many cases that you've been handling? And I am sure you had shared a lot before to us. So,
Mhm.
do you still get affected handling those cases?
Of course, who wouldn't be affected? Both staff and our clientele, we're all affected by it. Anybody, everybody in the world, since it's a global pandemic, we're all affected. Emotionally, physically. It's this new normal that we have to get used to, and yeah, everybody, even us, right?
Okay, now with the current situation that we have here in the Philippines, mental health is really like getting into a stigma, especially for our students. So, what is mental health or the status of mental health as your assessment here in the Philippines?
Okay, so let me define mental health first. Okay, so I looked at this definition from mentalhealth.gov. And so, by definition, mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social well being. So, it affects how we think, we feel, and how we act. It also determines how we handle stress, relate to others, and make choices. So, I mean, it's no different from the Philippines and the U.S. It's not really different. It's mental health. It's something that everybody should be taking care of. Regardless of location, even if we're in the Philippines, we're in the United States, anywhere we are, regardless of age, regardless of sex, we have to take care of our mental health.
What are the signs, Joanna, of a good mental health?
So, when an individual has good mental health, I would say they have a happier demeanor. They are positive. They are able to cope well with everyday stress. They are resilient and are able to bounce back from any stressor that they encounter in life.
Right. Apparently nowadays you will hear a lot of people getting depressed, experiencing anxiety. We're very much concerned about students, individuals, professionals who were laid off. And basically, what causes this? Is it the situation about COVID? Or is it about how they actually embrace the challenges that we have right now?
Okay. So, depression, some people have been depressed prior to COVID, anyways, right?
Right.
So, depression may be caused by a combination of genetics, biological factors, psychological factors, or environmental factors. For example, depression may run in the family. Hence, how we say it might be in the genes. Somebody in the family might have major depressive disorder, and sometimes that's passed on to their kids, to their children. Depression may also be caused by substance abuse, such as drinking alcohol or using drugs. Um, Even doctor prescribed medications or pills, especially in individuals who are being treated for certain illnesses like maybe diabetes or heart problems, that can also cause depression. What else? So depression may also be triggered by drastic changes in our environment, such as having a natural disaster, like floods. I know in the Philippines that happened, the Ondoy and other
Right.
flooding that happened. What about the Taal volcano eruption? That's a drastic change in our environment. Um, Another thing is this pandemic. Definitely this pandemic, this COVID-19 pandemic, is a drastic change. Of course, other environmental factors might be loss of a job or loss of a loved one. Not just because of the COVID-19, but because of uh, every day. We lose people, we lose pets. There are a lot of things that we can lose that can cause depression in individuals.
Right. But do you think, Joanna, when one or someone is really suffering from depression, is there a real manifestation or outright manifestation?
Yeah, sometimes, or most of the time, we can see it in individuals. There are signs and, yeah, definitely signs and symptoms that you can physically observe in an individual. But there are also people who are good at hiding it. Believe it or not, like I've been doing a lot of talks at like churches and at schools, because my one of my advocacies is suicide prevention in youth. And there was this young individual from one of the high schools out here in the Antelope Valley where we live. Um, he was a jolly, very good looking individual. He was in his senior year, and he was at a party. And according to the mother, he was out there having a party. He came home, and the next day they found him. He hung himself.
Oh my.
So he killed himself. But they didn't have any clue because he was like what I said, he was a happy, jolly individual. So, but most of the time you can see signs. For instance, if people, you can see people who are persistently sad or anxious, or they're in like a very sad mood. Sometimes we call them, like melancholic.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can see that readily, right? Sometimes you can hear people who feel hopeless about the future. There are people who are irritable, people who have a lot of guilt feelings, feelings of worthlessness or helplessness about the future.
Making
Um,
threats.
yeah, making threats. What if somebody maybe who used to enjoy certain activities and now they have lost interest in those activities that are pleasurable to them, um, having low level of energy or feeling tired all the time,
Hmm.
um, feeling restless. What else? In students, especially younger individuals, they have difficulty concentrating or remembering. They have difficulty making decisions. Also, people who have difficulty sleeping or
Hmm.
cannot sleep at night, or maybe are oversleeping too. That can also be a sign of
Oh,
depression. Yeah, oversleeping can be a sign of depression too. Um, Maybe loss of appetite, weight changes, or sudden weight gain or weight loss.
Hmm.
Um, and of course, the obvious ones like thoughts of having suicide attempts, or I mean,
right.
thoughts of
That's the
suicide or
worst.
suicide attempts. Those are the worst ones. Some of the subtle examples might be when kids complain about pains, headaches, digestive problems.
Hmm.
We don't know that it can also be a sign of depression.
Remember when we were in college, right? We were taught about how to assess only through the psychological test, right? And
Yes.
apparently, Joanna, your extensive experience is really more scientific, more than the learnings that we get from the four walls of our school before.
I know.
Nowadays, people are very anxious about moving on. However, manifestations like, of course, you mentioned about the melancholic, and others really are really very expressive. Some are very vocal about, that they feel very low and everything. Is it also a sign, Joanna, that this type of individual are having a transitioning already of their personality? I don't know if it's like a dual personality that they are trying to manifest already, just probably to cover up, while at the other side of themselves is basically an individual, a person with very low emotional stability.
Um, I mean, um, you could be talking about different things. There are people who, like what I said earlier, that they might be depressed, but they're covering up their depression by partying a lot or making jokes or just not showing that depression, but they're having that different front. They're having a different front, or they're showing their different side, which is not what they're truly how they truly feel. Um, and then of course there are what we call personality disorders, and those are different. That's more deep. And actually, it's something that can be diagnosed by a psychotherapist or a psychiatrist. Um, it's really hard to say if a person might be suffering from a personality disorder um, if you're just like looking at it from the outside. Um, it takes a lot of maybe interviews through a psychotherapist or a counselor interviewing them or a doctor interviewing them and doing a full assessment for us to determine that.
Mhm. So it's more deep. It's more of like a real personality disorder.
Right,
Right. Okay.
exactly.
Now, if a person, let's say, for example, is experiencing anxiety, are they also prone to panic attack?
Well, yeah, a person who is experiencing anxiety is prone to a panic attack. If a person is unable to cope with his or her overwhelming thoughts or feelings and their excessive worry, then it's possible for them to experience a panic attack. And if this happens, I will suggest to consult a doctor right away. A physical doctor can be consulted first or should be consulted first because we need to rule out if the anxiety is caused by maybe a physical condition rather than a psychological condition. So it's important for us, if we're feeling like if we're having those panic attacks or we think that we're experiencing an anxiety, it's important for us to see a doctor. For example, I know somebody that I worked with, and this was years ago, and she told me that, oh, I think I'm having a heart attack because I'm having chest pains, right? And of course, we got scared, so we called 911, and she was taken to the nearest hospital. And come to find out, there was nothing wrong with her heart.
Mm-hmm.
So the doctor was able to rule that out, and she was having a panic attack. So
Oh.
at that point, so sometimes we think it's a heart attack, vice versa, or sometimes it's a panic attack, and we don't know. We think it's a panic attack, and we don't know that it's already a heart attack. So it's important to distinguish the difference, and only a medical doctor can do that through, our medical exams or
That's the
tests.
assessment. All right.
Mhm.
No, this pandemic is really very traumatic for a lot of people. And I've mentioned to you the objective of our interview, not only for students, but as well as for individuals, for professionals, okay, businesses and companies, not only here, basically it's around the world. It's really hit hard, okay. What do you advise them to cope up, be able to manage with the situation? Adele,
Mhm.
Joanna.
Yes, sure. Actually, Adele is an expert with coping skills and self care skills. So
Yes,
let
of
me have him
course.
answer this question.
Well, it's a hard question.
You can answer it.
Well, primarily, I think I would suggest that they should be able to identify their coping skills first. So, and be able to deal with the current situation. People are, somehow in the Philippines are resilient. So I think that value is something that they should never forget. Um, so despite the situation, despite this pandemic, we should find ways to stay positive. And that's basically how Filipinos are. Um, they've been into a lot of tragedies, but they can still stand up. So it's very important they have to look at their own self care or coping skills just to start. Just like me, I'm a person who loves music. So probably they might want to go into something like singing or playing instruments, something like they will have to keep themselves busy. You can also pamper yourself. Just like Joanna,
Yeah,
she
like
loves
me.
pampering herself. I mean,
That's
she
my
loves
self-care
going to the
skill.
salon. She loves, I mean, uh,
Good
having her
skill.
facials,
Mhm.
going to the nail salon. I mean, that's a good way of
Yeah,
pampering.
but with the COVID, we can't go right now.
But she can still do
Right?
it on her own.
Same
If
here.
people into music or people is into
Mhm.
art, then might as well just further explore
Mhm.
those type of skills that they have given, like for example, dancing or exercising. Um, very Filipino. Praying. It's a coping
Right,
skill,
right.
right? I mean,
Mhm.
there's nothing wrong about meditating, reflecting the Bible, reading the Bible, listening to inspirational talks, or reading an inspirational book. Those are all coping skills.
Mhm.
So sometimes you don't, these are all free. All you need to do is
Mhm.
just to use it. When you're at home, actually, there's a lot of things that you can do to keep yourself busy. You can always do something like cooking, or as
Right.
simple as playing with your children, or playing with your siblings, or baking
Gardening.
or gardening.
Gardening. Yeah,
I
I've.
mean,
Mhm.
you don't have to go to the gym. In the first place, gyms are closed. So why not just do the exercise at home? Joanna and
Mhm.
I, we go for Zumba exercise in the morning. We go for any type of exercise that will keep our body
Or we
active.
just walk around the block,
Or we
you know,
walk
like
around
in
the
the
block.
neighborhood.
We do a 2 mile walk
Mhm.
in the morning. I mean, that's a coping skill.
Mhm.
Um, if you are, for example, at home, for instance, that you are working from home,
Mhm.
or probably studying from home, make it sure that there is a routine, there is a structure for the day. Just like when you go to work, when you go to school, you wake up in the morning, you brush your teeth, you eat your breakfast, you take a shower, you dress up like you are going to school or you're
Mhm. Definitely.
going to work. Put on your makeup,
The
clean
Don't.
routine.
your yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, use your favorite perfume or cologne, or and probably wanna set boundaries with other people, just like what
Mhm.
you do when you're at work. These are all things that you can fully utilize even if you're at home. So just make sure that you know that you won't be bothered by anybody.
Mhm.
And even if you're facing your computer or you're on your phone or you're on Zoom, just like this one, of course, taking a break, just like when you're at work, you have your
Uh-huh.
morning break, you have your
Mhm.
lunch break, you have
Yeah.
your, these are all structures that you should still keep on practicing even if you are in that situation.
Mhm.
Right.
Very good.
Well said,
Good job.
Adele. And
Yeah.
basically, I would understand as well that support group, like family, friends, right? And Joanna, what is the best way to improve the mental well-being of an individual, especially for our students, our academicians, even teachers, even
Correct.
instructors? Most of them actually would lose their job because the school has to maintain only certain number of instructors.
Well, there are a lot of positive ways you can improve your mental well-being. Um, like you mentioned earlier, connecting with others is one. So
Right.
you shouldn't be isolating. We have social media now, or cell phones and text messaging, right? So connect with your friends, call your friends, maybe relatives you haven't talked to in a while. Of course, your parents, if you don't live with your parents, your cousins, aunts, uncles, connect with people because that helps. Or even like people you haven't talked to in a while, even former classmates or friends from college like us, right?
Right, right, definitely.
Connecting.
Yeah.
Another thing is, of course, keeping a positive demeanor. Always stay positive and hopeful. You can do fun activities. You can watch funny movies or read a funny book, to keep yourself laughing. Having regular exercise, like what Adele mentioned earlier. Remember, exercising can help increase your endorphins, which
Right.
are what we call the happy hormones, right? Also,
We
eating
need more of
healthy.
that.
Yes, right? We need a lot of endorphins. Yes, eating healthy makes your body feel good. And of course, when you feel good, your mood is better, right? Getting enough sleep to avoid being cranky in the morning, because
Mhm.
sometimes when we are puyat, right? The tendency is for us to be in a bad mood the next day, right?
Right.
So showing compassion and kindness to others is another one. I know, like in at work, we have what we call the kindness crew. So because
Mhm.
it's a stressful job, working in the mental health field. So one of my coworkers implemented this project called the kindness crew, and so our job was to spread kindness, even just sending a kind email to somebody, or a nice gift, or like maybe a little snack to somebody, and that
I
was
like
something
that.
very good. Yeah, it's
Acts of kindness.
acts of kindness, right? Altruism makes us
Yep.
feel good.
Right.
Definitely. Of course, like we have what we call coping skills or distress tolerance skills. And that can be anything. It can be a hobby. It can be things that you like or you enjoy doing, like dancing, cooking, artwork.
I want to add on some of the ways. This is actually more in the perspective of people in the Philippines. Um, there's really nothing wrong about helping others, even if you yourself is in need of help.
Oh, that's
So
true.
um,
Yes.
the more that you extended that helps to other people who are in need,
Mhm.
well, I always believe blessings comes back
Yeah,
to
a
you,
hundredfold.
and it
Mhm.
makes you feel good. So instead of you just waiting for other people to help you, might as well just go out there and do something for others.
That's
Yeah,
true.
that's
You can
charity. That's
volunteer, right?
yeah.
Do some volunteer. We do that here very frequent
Yeah.
here in the U.S. We have people who are homeless here, people who are experiencing food insecurity, and these problems here are the same problems that people
Mhm.
experience in the Philippines. So, and it's something very fulfilling if you do something for others. So that's something that I encourage everybody amidst this pandemic. Extend some more help to people who are in need, and you will actually feel better, and you even feel more of a person rather than um, nothing at all.
Right. So that's very much appreciated, Adele, your thoughts on little act of kindness and that charity works, whether in cash or in kind, definitely would help a lot of people. And definitely that is something that gives more fulfillment. Self-fulfillment is different when you get to help people, right?
Mhm.
Right, right.
Okay, and finally, let's say for example, Joanna, to take out this stigma. Let's say for example, you see that an individual is experiencing anxiety, depression, stress disorder. How can we encourage them to really seek professional help, or probably just to air it out to somebody whom they can trust? How can we encourage individuals to be open about what and how they feel?
I know. See, one thing that we need to understand is that when we go to a doctor or to a psychiatrist, to a therapist, it doesn't mean that we're crazy or there's something wrong with us. We should acknowledge that everybody needs help. It's like if you're diabetic, you have diabetes, you take medication for it, right? So it's the same thing. So if you know there's something wrong, and you think you need professional help when it comes to your mental health, do not hesitate. Ask for help. I would definitely recommend seeking professional help the anxiety or the depression that you're feeling is not going away. After even after you've been using your coping skills, you've been praying and talking to your friends and everything, getting help from professional psychotherapists or a psychiatrist does not make you less of a person. It's
Mm-hmm.
important that we take care of ourselves because we cannot help our families if we
Mm-hmm.
cannot take care of ourselves first. So you don't want that symptom to get worse, right?
Right,
So
right.
because getting worse might mean that it might get to that point where you want to kill yourself or
We
harm
do not
somebody
want
else,
that, of
and you don't
course.
want that. So you definitely want to, as much as possible, seek help now, while a therapist can still help you or a psychiatrist can still help you.
Great, very well said, both of you. Thank you so much, Joanna and Adele. So, a lot of learnings for today. Do little acts of kindness, of course, reconnect with friends while the industry is healing. Don't shake off too far. Focus on your strengths, your goals, and your real purpose in life. You can do a lot of things, change your routine, and of course, we are together in this battle. Parting
Yeah.
words from both of you, my dear friends.
Just for our Filipino,
Our
like
kababayan.
kababayans there, just remember, stigma. It's really hard to erase from our culture, our Filipino culture, because um, we're a culture that we tend to keep secrets in the family. Like if we have somebody in the family who's experiencing mental illness or something that we feel that other people might not be able to accept, we sometimes we feel that it's like embarrassing or nakakahiya, right? We shouldn't think about that anymore. This is the modern times. I know stigma is hard to erase even here in the US. Even though we have a lot of resources for mental health, there is still stigma. So we should all help each other by, encouraging people to get help. If you know your friend, your relative is suffering from a mental illness, encourage them to get help. And maybe we can even start, especially in your company, maybe you can even start mental health awareness trainings, where you can invite speakers and the students can probably ask them questions. That's also one way. I also did a training here at a church, and it was entitled Mental Health in the Church. Remember when I did that at Sacred Heart Church? And that was well received too, because, there are a lot of people who have that. Stigma, thinking that we can there's no hope for people who are mentally ill, and that's not true. We have a lot of mentally ill people who are famous, who are successful in their
Mm-hmm.
careers, name it, politicians, actors, actresses, even my own boss, and I'm sure she's not gonna hate me if I share this because she is very open about it. And Adele knows my boss. She is the head of our agency, and she's been the head of our agency for 30 plus years, 35 years, and she suffered from bipolar disorder when she was in
Oh,
college. And right now, she's a very successful woman, and she started our agency. So let's just help each other out so that we can fight this stigma.
right. Thank you so much. Very well said, Joanna. And everything will be okay, diba? This too shall pass. We just have to believe, we just have to
Yeah.
hope, and we just have to pray and pray and pray and love. Okay?
Right.
So with that, thank you so much. I'll be ending the recording, but getting back to you.
Okay.